Right, good morning, everybody, or possibly good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from. This is the UCL SSEES Graduate Open Series. This is our sixth and final session, and today we're going to be looking at the SSEES PhD and MRes programmes. My name's Lisa Walters. I work in the admissions office for the school, and I'm joined by Dr Kristin Roth-Ey, who's Associate Professor in Russian History and also the Head of Graduate Research at SSEES. I'm also lucky enough to be joined by Katerina from the admissions team and Myrna, who is one of our current MRes students. So we'll have about 10-15 minutes of a presentation, and then there'll be plenty of time to ask questions at the end. Just a heads up that the presentation is being recorded, so if you don't wish to appear in that, please keep your cameras off. But we will stop recording after Kristin has finished the talk, and we'd be very happy to see your faces if you feel comfortable asking questions on camera. If you don't feel comfortable or you can't, you're very welcome to put any questions in the chat, and we'll try and answer those to the best of our ability. But I'll pass over to Dr. Roth-Ey now, and I hope you find the session useful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Lisa. Hello, everyone. I'm happy to be with you today to talk about our PhD and MRes programs and about SSEES in general. You can see our building right on your slide right now. SSEES was founded in 1915 as an independent institution. It was founded by a very illustrious historian named R.W. Seton Watson. When it first started out, it focused primarily on languages and also on history and culture. It's now expanded into a really dynamic, broad-ranging, multidisciplinary academic institution. So I said we were founded in 1915 and we're an independent institution for many, many years, and then joined UCL in 1999. With our own purpose-built, award-winning building, which you can see right here. We're the largest academic institution in the UK that's devoted to the study of the region being East Central Europe and all Southeastern Europe, the Baltics, and all of the parts of what was once the Soviet Union. So we're also one of the largest worldwide, actually, and we have a worldwide reputation for excellence in this area. That means we've got over 100 staff working, over 1,100 students, and a really wide range of degree programs. You can see on the slide here, 22 different BA programs, 13 MAs, the 2 MRes, and the PhD program. One of the things that I love most about SSEES is its library. And I know from scholarly colleagues throughout the world that people value SSEES's library because it's one of the few, specialized libraries in resources for our region. And it's located dab smack in the middle of our building. So you're never far from being able to access materials that you need. It's really an incredible resource. Also, I would highlight for SSEES, as I was saying before, the multidisciplinary research and teaching that we do. So although we started out, as I said, in languages and cultures primarily, with history as well, now we've got politics and sociology, economics, anthropology, cinema studies, history, economics and business. I might be leaving something out, but we have a really wide range of different kinds of approaches to the academic study of our region. And it enables us to kind of do, I think, very innovative and exciting work because we can have cross-disciplinary partnerships for students and for staff. We also have partnerships across the region that come into play with different academic institutions across East Central Europe, Southeastern Europe, former Soviet Union. One of them is our flagship International Masters in Economy, State, and Society, the IMAS. So you might all be wondering why you should choose to come to SSEES. I think there are many different reasons for that. One of them, as I said, is the breadth that SSEES offers. So when you come to SSEES, you're able to access training in a wide range of methodologies, social science methodologies, also humanities, languages, which I'll talk about a little bit later. There's also often a paid teaching experience available for postgraduate students. I think most of our postgraduate students take up that opportunity at some point. Certainly those in the PhD programs do. And it's a terrific opportunity to gain work experience, which is good for one's CV, of course, but also it's just a really intellectually enriching experience. I think all of us who teach know that we learn by as much by teaching as students learn by studying. So paid teaching experience is a real plus. You'll also, as a student at SSEES, have opportunities to present research, your own work, at seminars within SSEES and outside SSEES. So we have a graduate student research seminar that meets several times each term. It's run by graduate students, postgraduate students, and according to demand. But there are also a range of seminars at SSEES that you can participate in. I'll talk about those a little bit later. Field work in the SSEES region is very important and something that we have a lot of experience in facilitating and guiding people in doing. And into that comes these close ties that we have with other universities, so universities in the region, and also close ties with other universities in the UK. So I mentioned this very active research seminar program. If you look on our website, you can see the range. I will just tell you the names of a few of them to give you a sense of that range. We have a Center for New Economic Transitions. We have a seminar series called Rethinking Eastern Europe and Eurasia. It brings in scholars when I'm associated with primarily in history and the social sciences. We have a cinema research group that brings together scholars from all over, not just UCL and not just London, but from all over the southern part of England, in fact, to come and talk about cinema in our region historically, contemporarily. We have a Southeast European Studies Seminar Series. We have another called Fringe, the UCL Center for the Study of Social and Cultural Complexity. Those are just a few of them. I think we have probably a good 5 or 6 more regular active seminar series that we encourage students to become associate members of and to participate in as much as possible. But actually, it's only the tip of the iceberg, because we often have outside speakers from all different kinds of institutions come into SSEES. If anything, there's sort of too much to do around SSEES. There are too many opportunities to hear great speakers and engage intellectually in really vibrant conversations that happen on a daily basis, basically, at SSEES. Of course, if you're a SSEES student, you have access to UCL itself, which and all the other departments of UCL, which is an incredible, rich resource. And as I mentioned, the SSEES library, but also the other UCL libraries. And the location of SSEES itself, being in Bloomsbury, is a perfect location for anybody who wants to do academic work, because you're close to the British Library, I mean, a stone's throw away from the British Library, really. Also, the other London libraries, other London institutions, British Museum, all sorts of other places that would be of interest. Things like Pushkin House for Russian specialists, and Chatham House for people who are interested in contemporary politics in the region. I could go on. So there's really nothing better than being in London for postgraduate studies, in my view. There are also some postgraduate student specific things that might be of interest to you. I think they're of interest to many. I mentioned the postgraduate research student seminar series. It's run by students. There's also a publication called Slovo. It's run by students. So an opportunity for students to get involved in publishing their own work, but also in peer reviewing and establishing putting together a journal of themselves. And then we have an International Postgraduate Student Conference. It's a biannual event. It just happened a few weeks ago, and I went to part of it. was pleased to come to part of it and see just the incredible range of postgraduate students that we had, dozens of postgraduate students, in fact, from not just from the UK, but from all across the region. It was a really terrific event that our students put on this year. So if you've come to SSEES, you could get involved in all of those things. We've got two postgraduate research programs. One of them is the MRes. There are two options for that: the one-year MRes in Politics and Economics of Eastern Europe, and the two-year MRes in East European Studies. Both of those are full-time only programs. We have the PhD, which is 3 years full-time, with the option to add a fourth year that many people do take up in continuing research status. It's a 5-year program, part-time. In terms of program structure, so the MRes is a partially taught program. So you will be taking modules. There are methods modules, basic core methods modules that are requirements for the MRes, along with language as a requirement. And of course, a wide range of electives. You can take electives within SSEES, and in some cases outside of SSEES in other departments at UCL. And then both MReses, the 1 year and the 2 year, have a dissertation requirement. So it's independent research done under the supervision of one, and usually two, in fact, supervisors with whom you will work very closely to produce an independent piece of research. The SSEES PhD, we have a very active community of PhD students working on a really interesting, diverse set of topics. And I think, one of the things that's the strength about the SSEES PhD is that there's no way, given the fact that we have such diversity among our student population, there's no way to become completely siloed off and completely insular in your own little disciplinary shell, as can sometimes happen when you intensively involve yourself in a research degree. Well, at SSEES, you're constantly drawn into conversations with people who are working in very disparate kinds of fields, and that can only but enrich your own intellectual experience, your own kind of social connectivity with people. So you can see the diversity here with these examples of the PhD theses. These are ones that either have been recently completed or are ongoing. We have everything from economics and business to queer studies, cinema studies, with 17th century Russian history thrown in, and I could give more examples of literature of the Balkans and a whole other, as I said, diverse range. In terms of languages, I think that we are I think that we have the widest range of taught languages from our region in the UK. I could be corrected on that, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. It's a tremendous opportunity. It's very difficult to find instruction in many of these languages. And we have native speakers who do a fantastic job, our academic professionals, native speakers who are here teaching, as you can see, a really rich array of languages from our region. I mentioned already that we have this huge number of events around SSEES, too many to attend. If anything, the problem is the breadth. The research and seminar series, of course, and then a range of other sorts of public events that happen. There's the opportunity to be involved in SSEES's own in-house journals. So I mentioned the postgraduate journal Slova, but we also have journals that we as academics run, and there are possibilities to become involved in those. And in something called the Post-Soviet Press Group, which has been running, I don't know, for 30 years. Maybe it's one of the oldest running institutions at SSEES. It's a weekly gathering of students and staff who get together to study, to talk about contemporary, as in right now, events in the post-Soviet region, looking at media and other sources. And that often has outside speakers, leading journalists, and political scientists of the region to come in as guest speakers. It's a fantastic resource. London, again, can't be beat, in part because of the access to different universities, the British Library, the British Museum, etc., and these other sorts of institutions. So Pushkin House, think tanks like Chatham House, embassies, of course, international partners. And over the years, I've seen many students who've had, different forms of collaborative relationships with these kinds of extra academic institutions. And certainly the thing about being in London is that we have a lot of crossover with all these institutions. So not only do we as academics and students attend their events, but the people who are working there attend ours. I would also add the BBC to that list. So, there's a really good opportunity, no matter where you want to take your postgraduate studies, to do networking. And speaking of networking, UCL has a career support service that can help you with this, and academics are also very happy to talk to you about different kinds of career paths you might be interested in pursuing. Now, there is, of course, teaching and education. There's the academic route, but doing an MRes and a PhD need not only lead to an academic career. There's a wide range of paths that you can choose to go on after your postgraduate studies, and that many people do. So people do go on to work in charities and NGOs. People do go on to work in journalism and publishing. We have experience of having had students who've taken those paths, and there's kind of support here to have those discussions and think right from the beginning about how you might want to shape your future if you come to SSEES. Funding is a very important question. There's information on our website, detailed information about each of these different programs. I'm happy to answer questions in the Q&A if you have more specific things that you need to know or to clarify. So you'll see in this list that the top two, the ESRC and the London Arts and Humanities Partnership, are doctoral training partnerships that are run outside of UCL. So they take in multiple universities within London. But that we participate as full partners in, and every year we have students who are funded via those doctoral training partnerships. The ones that we have that are specific to UCL are the next three: the Research Excellence Scholarship, the Research Opportunity Scholarship, and the Wolfson Scholarships. Finally, at SSEES itself, we have some funding. We have a SSEES Foundation Scholarship. We have the Svoboda Memorial Scholarship for Ukrainian Studies, which, if I remember correctly, is every 2 to 3 years. And I'm not sure, I think it's every 3 years, actually. I'm not sure if it's open for next year. We can take a look at that. And then there's also, the Cork Scholarship is actually a UCL-wide one, the one that's below the Svoboda. The Cork is a UCL-wide one. The last bullet point here is the Philippa Hetherington History Research Travel Grant, named in honor of my very dear colleague. It supports history students who need funding to go do a field work. I mention it in part in honor of my colleague, but also because there are other sort of smaller pots of money that support different kinds of research work at SSEES for postgraduate students along those lines. That are also listed on our website. So this would be once you've already joined us as a student. There are different kinds of ways to get support along the journey to getting your PhD that you can look into and we can advise you on once you arrive. In terms of applications, you'll know, I think, that you need an upper second class undergraduate degree and a master's. If you're not a native speaker of English, there are English language requirements that you'll need to look at, and we can answer questions, any questions you have. The way the application process works is that you need to approach academics at SSEES who you think would be good for you to work with, and approach them by email with a proposed idea. It can sometimes, I think, for some students feel a little bit daunting, but please don't be shy about that in any way. We get these kinds of queries all the time, and we're happy to hear from people who are interested in studying with us. So you just approach them with an idea. It doesn't have to be a fully fledged proposal right from the beginning, but it should be a developed sense of a topic that you're interested in working on. And then if the proposed supervisor feels that he or she is a good fit and is interested in that kind of a project, you will develop a fully fledged proposal, which is the next bullet, a well-formed draft proposal that you can exchange back and forth with the supervisor to get some guidance on how to improve it, and can shape that together. There's a lot of guidance for this on the website, some suggestions on how to go about putting that together, what a proposal should look like, how to best frame your ideas to be in a good footing to get funding. And there are funding deadlines and different requirements, somewhat different requirements for each of those programs that were on the previous slide. So you will need to check those out, and those deadlines are coming up. Most of them are in January, so not that much time left to work on that. So if you haven't already, I would suggest taking a look at that as soon as you can. Okay, so if you need to find out more, you'd like to find out more, we're now going to have a Q&A session, but there are also different opportunities for that. You can register your interest on the UCL website. You can come to our graduate open evening to see us live and in person on the 29th of January. And you can also check out our wonderful building. Follow us on social media if you haven't done that already. The research administrator is an email away at the address that's listed here. And as I've said, there's really a lot of information on the website that I encourage you to take a look at, and then be in touch with us if you have any further clarifications. So wonderful. Thanks very much. And I look forward to chatting with you now if you have any questions or comments.